Hey guys, for this trek into DIY tech, we're going to take a look at the 40-watt laser back here. Uh, so in the past they were called engravers because sometimes it was sketchy as to whether they were going to cut or not. And so they were sold as engravers, uh, but everybody knew, they were going to use them for cutting Baltic birch, which was the material of choice, that and thin sheets of acrylic. Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at that. Yeah, so look at that magnificence there. Um, I just got done hooking up the exhaust. So this is exhausting to the outside. Um, I'll give you a picture of what that looks like on the outside. So there it is. Yeah, so it's got opens up like this. We're gonna put some mesh in there to keep the bugs out. But so these flaps open up when the air is pushing out to let the air out, keeps the rain out. We got a bunch of silicone across the top here to shed the water. So yeah, so it looks like on the outside. So yeah, with these types of lasers, this is a very much an older model. They were a lot less expensive. These guys, because they didn't come with a lot of bells and whistles. These days, you'll hear people talking about the forge and all of that. So this is definitely not one of those drop the material in, take the picture, use your app type of things. These are very hands-on. So yeah, so we've got the exhaust here. It's a CO2 laser. It's got a big old tube back there. We're going to take a look at that in a second. And it needs cooling or else your tube doesn't last very long. So in here, I actually have ice packs that go in here, water and a little bit of chlorine to keep the water clear. But that's just a that's just a cooler, as you can see. We don't have this, so this is battery backup. We'll have that hooked up at some point to keep, while we're doing laser cutting and 3D printing. The we don't want the power to go out and stop any of that. So we're gonna have that UPS going there. But when you look inside, so I've unbuttoned all of this so you can check this out. So in here, there's a high voltage power supply, and that's what supplies the energy for the laser to do its lasing. We've also got this is the controller board here. You can see it's a USB. It's an old, one of the, it's USB-A. So, but anyway, this thing is hooked up the whole time to the computer, and the computer is constantly sending the commands down to the PCB there. All of this is set up very similar to, so those are the extra electrical connections at the back there. So you can see right here, we have a connection for the fan, and we have a connection for the water pump. I'm gonna hook this up. This is actually a light that's in here. So again, it's not a glow forge, so we're doing the upgrades as we go here. So we're gonna have this fluorescent light in here so that we can see what's going on in here, because it gets dark. It's dark when you have this closed up. So you can see though that this mechanism is very much like the 3D printer mechanism. There's a gantry, and this is not the print. Print is 3D print is additive. This is almost subtractive, right? Because we're cutting through material and cutting away material to make the to make your project or to form the materials. And this is where the air gets sucked in. So the airflow comes across. It'll come across there and attempt to get sucked in there. It doesn't work as well as you would need for, scorching and stuff not to happen on the part. So we're gonna have an air assist here as well as the light. We're gonna have the air assist hooked up here. So there's gonna be more going on with this. I'll show some of that when we go there. But you can see it's very similar to the 3D printer. So we have the same head. This one's depositing instead of subtracting, right? But it's the same, and instead of having the print head move back and forth, we have the build plate move back and forth. Whereas here, we actually have the head moves back and forth. So these two are just mirrors, and so you have the laser beam coming out of that aperture in there, comes down this way, across this way, and this one aims it down at the workpiece down there. So this has no safeties on it, so you can actually open this while it's running. That was one of the things I considered when we had this set up at the Makerspace. So yeah, so like a lot of the tools at the Makerspace, I actually personally bought this thing and brought it in for everybody to use. And so one of the things that I was considering doing was putting a safety switch on there, so if it was opened, that it would cut the laser off. Never actually happened because we only had grown-ups ever using this. We never actually had a class where we had smaller children working with this, and even then they would be supervised. So yeah, it was one of those things that we didn't make the time for it, and I don't think at the end of the day it was necessary. But anyway, that's the story behind that part of it. So moving along so now you know what's in here. And again, like the airflow, this goes directly to a manifold back there that goes over to the fan. I think that if it was actually blowing air across here, that would work a lot better. But it is what it is, right? I paid very little for this thing, and it worked fine just as it was. We just had to make some changes. So okay, so we're gonna go back here and take a look at what's inside of there. So we've got the computer running there. So the software that runs on there, like I said, runs constantly throughout the job. This one has a physical key for the software. So the license is on that. It's on that little USB stick, and so you just keep that in there. The license came with the purchase of the laser cutter / engraver. So that stays in there. It's a single seat license, so more than enough for what we're doing. So all right, we're about to break in here and take a look at what's inside. So let's move all this stuff out of the way here. Eventually we'll have a little platform for that. So all right, so I've unscrewed the other side of this cover already. Ooh, sorry about that. Guess you guys are awake now. So I'm gonna reach back here. There's a couple of latches back here. Let me see if I can give you a visual of that. Yep, there you go. There's a couple of latches here. I may have to put the... Oh, no. I was able to get it. All right. Great. That'll do. All right, so you can see there... Let me stop my sign from swinging. So you can see there, this is the actual tube. This is the CO2 tube. Right now I have the water drained out. That's why I haven't turned on the laser. We'll save that for another trip. We'll turn on the laser and see how to, in the software, go ahead and do the cutting and all of that. But for this one, this is just show and tell on how the tube is situated here. So this is a lot bigger than those solid state lasers, right? So this is actually gas that gets excited, and then you have photons going back and forth between two mirrors. There are two mirrors. There's one mirror on this end, one mirror on this end on the tube. And the light or the photons are excited. They move back and forth between the two mirrors until they get enough energy to shoot out of the mirror on this end. And when they do that, they hit this mirror, which is the first mirror in the 3-mirror setup, right? So it hits this mirror and goes that way through the aperture. And then let's follow that through. So the aperture right there, you can see the mirror back there. And that's bringing the beam into this mirror, hitting this mirror and going down. So all 3 of these mirrors have adjustments, so you can line that up and get right angles everywhere to maximize your cutting and have the cutting happen in the proper place. But as you can see there, like this entire outer tube gets filled with that water from that cooler that I showed you under the table. So you can see the tube there coming up, and it goes through and it comes out the other side. And that just keeps this tube cool because there's a lot of energy that goes into creating that laser beam. And this would self-destruct itself if it did not have that cooling going on. The other thing to think about is and also one that I didn't think much about when I first bought this thing. These tubes have a lifespan, right? So you run for X amount of hours and then you have to replace the tube. So definitely not something I thought about too much when I brought it into the Makerspace, where it was going to be used high amount of hours. Well, at the end of the day, so this is the second tube that's in here. But it's been good. It's been good. We got a lot of use out of it before that tube had to be installed, and it just starts cutting less and less and less and less until one day it doesn't cut at all. Because you actually have power settings here. So, you can turn the power up and down depending on what materials, whether you're engraving or cutting, right? So you're cutting, you're turning up, and also the thickness of the material will affect how much power you're putting through there. And you can see how much power it's outputting here. So if you're cutting, some 3mm piece, a thick piece of Baltic birch, and now all of a sudden you used to be able to cut at 1, and now you have to dial it all the way up to 11 to make the cut. And you're seeing the power up here is changing in relation to this, the way it's supposed to. You know that the tube is on his way out. And so, the last thing I'll show you here is you actually have a laser current switch on here. This turns the power off to the laser, so you can actually move all of this around using the software without any danger of the laser going off by mistake, right? So you won't have your fingers in there, hopefully. And so when you're lining things up as well, if you have it in a certain spot in there, you can throw a piece of material in there, and you can press this test switch, obviously, with the door closed. You can press this test switch, and you can get the laser to burn a little hole for you to mark where you are, so you can see where you are, move the material around. And so that's about it. This power switch, yes, It does kick everything on at the same time. So the fan, the fan, the water pump, everything comes on at the same time. So yeah, that's one thing to be aware of as well. But anyway, that's what's in these 40-watt lasers. Again, it's not a fancy thing like, you know, you got the Forge out there. You got all those newfangled ones out there. But this does the job, and it has continued to do the job over the years. And it's been many, many years. When was it? 2013, 2014? This one got picked up. Anyway, like I said, we'll try to maybe make a video on actually using the laser. We'll put the software up. We'll put some material in there and do some cutting so you can see how that goes. Debated putting that in this video or not. There's so many videos out there with people showing how the laser cuts that, you know, you already know how the thing cuts. I just wanted to show you why and what components are in there that make it cut. So yeah, we'll let me know in the comments if you wanna actually see the laser cutting. Also, tell me whether you think a photon is a wave or a particle. Again, I appreciate the time you spend with me, and we'll see you in the next video.